Now turn to Part 4. Part 4. You will hear the talk covers the history of American film. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. In this final week of our series on the history of film, we'll be exploring the rise of colour and sound in cinema, focusing on a key period known as the Golden Age of Hollywood, which lasted from around 1917 to the end of the 1930s. This era truly began in 1917 with the development of silent films. A major early example was The Birth of a Nation, directed by D.W. Griffith. It was a huge success at the time, though now it's widely criticised for its offensive and racist content. During this silent film period, movies were shown in black and white and relied on written captions to show dialogue. Live music, often played by a pianist or small orchestra, helped add emotion and atmosphere. Because there was no spoken dialogue, actors had to rely on dramatic facial expressions and exaggerated movements to tell the story. As the popularity of cinema grew, several major studios were founded in Hollywood. This transformed the small California town into the center of the film world. Stars like Charlie Chaplin, famous for his comic roles, and Mary Pickford, known as America's sweetheart, became international icons. These actors helped draw massive audiences, and the studios quickly became powerful businesses. Major companies like Paramount, MGM, and Warner Brothers controlled nearly every part of the film process, from hiring actors to showing films in their own cinemas. This structure became known as the studio system. A major turning point came in 1927 with the release of The Jazz Singer. This was the first successful film to include synchronized sound and spoken dialogue. It marked the beginning of a new era, the talkies. The impact was enormous. Audiences were amazed, and soon all major studios began producing sound films. However, the shift wasn't easy. Some silent film stars struggled to adapt because their voices didn't suit the new technology, or their acting style didn't work with spoken dialogue. Studios also had to invest large sums of money in new recording equipment and redesign their sets to prevent sound problems. Despite the economic difficulties of the 1930s, including the Great Depression, Hollywood continued to produce a wide variety of films. People had less money, but they still went to the cinema to escape from daily life. Studios made musicals, romantic comedies, action films, and dramas, many of which are still popular today. These films gave audiences hope, glamour, and fantasy in difficult times. The 1930s also brought new technology, particularly in colour. While colour films had existed in some form for years, the process was expensive and difficult. That began to change with the introduction of Technicolor, which allowed for brighter, more stable colours. A major breakthrough came in 1937 with Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the first full-length animated feature. It was a huge success and showed that animation could be both artistically impressive and commercially viable. By 1939, several important films were released that are now considered classics, such as Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz. Both were made in colour and are often seen as the peak of Hollywood's golden age. But 1939 also marked the beginning of World War II, which had a major effect on the film industry. Many actors and directors joined the war effort, and studios began making propaganda films to support national morale. After the war, the industry faced new challenges. One of these was the rise of television in the 1950s. For the first time, people could be entertained at home for free, which led to a drop in cinema attendance. In response, studios tried to bring audiences back with new innovations like widescreen formats and 3D films. Although these methods had mixed success, they showed how the film industry had to keep evolving to stay relevant. While the Golden Age technically ended in the 1940s, its influence continues to shape modern cinema. The foundations built during those early decades, from storytelling techniques to studio production, still affect how movies are made today. So, in summary, the early 20th century was a time of dramatic change in film. From silent black and white movies to full-colour sound films, the industry grew rapidly in both technology and storytelling. It adapted to new challenges and found ways to continue entertaining audiences around the world. Next week, we'll look at the rise of independent cinema and how filmmakers outside the big studios began to reshape the industry.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 4. That's the end of the listening test. You will now have 2 minutes to check your answers.